Are you noticing a lot of cutbacks in your company where projects are being on hold, budgets are being monitored really closely, and risk aversion is at an all-time high? But you're somebody who's realizing that this is my opportunity right now to be promoted. I've been in this executive position for quite some time now, and I'm about to have a performance review, and I want to step up into higher levels of leadership. Well, it might feel like when it is an economic downturn, when there are cutbacks, when there are budget cuts, and when there are high risk aversion, it might feel like now is not the right time to be promoted. Or it might feel like it might be very difficult to get promoted. But I'm here to share with you, I submit to you that that could not be further from the truth. It could not be further from the truth that now is a bad time to be promoted. Because more than ever, when there are huge shifts in the economy like there have been recently, at the time of this recording of this video, there are talks everywhere about an upcoming recession. There are talks everywhere about how long that recession is going to be. So if you find yourself inside of this, if this were to happen, and if it does happen that way, and we find ourselves in a recession, it is better now. There are more opportunities for you to position into leadership. And here's why. Is because when there are changes like this, when there are shifts like that, it is even more important for the company to have great leaders. It is even more important for the most senior executive, the C-suite, it is even more important to them to keep their A players. So that's why for you, especially if you are a top performing executive, that's why for you, this could be your bargaining chip, because they need to keep their A players. So that's why in this video, I want to share with you how you could be promoted to senior leadership, senior executive levels, and get to higher and higher levels of leadership in your company, even in a time where there are massive shifts in the economy. Because if you are a top performing executive, you're an A player, and you know the value of you brought so far, and you know the steps that you've taken to get to where you're at, and there are opportunities that you're seeing, but you're just not quite sure how to navigate them, then I want to share with you these 3 tips. Because when it comes to navigation, it's a little bit different from before when the economy was booming. It's a lot different from before when the market was rising, when people were buying, when a lot of hires were being made. This is a different situation today. So what I'm going to give you are 3 tips. And if it is helpful to you, then remember to give me a thumbs up. And if you find topics like this useful, then subscribe to my channel, ring that bell below as well, because every single week I release videos on this topic and so much more. So 3 ways to land your promotion to a senior executive even in an economic downturn. And when I'm sharing with you 3 ways, the 3 ways are going to start with the letters ROI. So that's going to be easy to remember. R is the first strategy, O, and then I is the last strategy. So let's begin with R. R is remove resistance. Because when it comes to an economic downturn, when there are massive shifts and risk aversion is at its highest, as its greatest, companies are going to be more and more focused on their bottom line. For example, they might be thinking about where can we cut expenses, where can we streamline operations, and so on, because the bottom line is where they need to be protected, because the bottom line is where they're most vulnerable. So this is where companies are very focused on how can we preserve our bottom line at best, and how could we even improve it in this situation? So that's why when it comes to you in your performance review, just straight up asking for promotion may not be able to land very well, especially because they're trying to protect their bottom line. So straight up asking would be very appropriate, absent an economic downturn, absent all of these shifts in the economy, and absent risk aversion. But in this particular situation, I would say caution in terms of straight up asking. So first of all, removing resistance, because that's going to be the resistance you create if you do straight up ask for a promotion. And when the economy is booming, it makes sense to do so because you're seeking for opportunities. So it makes sense and it's more acceptable. But in this particular situation, what I would say is step number 1 is to really know exactly what you are asking for. Because let's face it, when it comes to promotion, there's many different areas of promotion. It could be a job title, from director to senior director, or director to VP. It could be a job title. It could be, for example, a switch in terms of teams, or it could be a switch in terms of job roles or job function. But it's important to know exactly what are you asking for. What does that promotion look like? So this is your own clarity that you're going into that conversation. And then secondly, when you have that promotionary discussion with the decision makers at large, it's important for you to know, to understand for yourself, and to be able to articulate as well how your promotion is going to help the company protect that bottom line. How is it going to help that company for as well also to help them to solve their vulnerabilities, identify and to be able to eliminate the vulnerabilities they have as a result of being in this economic downturn. So once you can position your promotion that way, that's how you remove resistance for the ask. And that's how you also make yourself even more valuable as a leader in your organization. So that was R. The second strategy is O, which stands for observe the gaps. By now, as an executive, you should know where the company is going in terms of their goals and their longer term objectives, but you also should be well aware on their progression towards those goals. And of course, the prioritization of those goals as well. So with that knowledge in mind, observe the gaps with respects to now, with the massive shifts in the economy. Where are we in terms of achieving those goals? What is our progression? What are the vulnerabilities? In other words, what are the gaps? What are the bottlenecks preventing us from achieving those goals? Because chances are a lot of those high-level objectives really do help in terms of the bottom line. They are very results-driven. They're strategically driven. So when it comes to now, you're positioning yourself for that promotion, it is wise. You will severely increase your opportunities, your chances of receiving the promotion, even in this situation, if you are able to position yourself with respects to how is my promotion going to be a key strategic decision. That deciding to promote you is going to be a strategic business case. It's going to be a strategic business decision. So when you position your promotion that way, you are effectively positioning yourself as a leader of your company even before you land that official title. So if you're listening to this and your gears are turning and you're wondering, okay, that really makes sense, but how do I do it? Exactly what do I say? What are the things that I should avoid saying? And how do I even initiate this conversation? And how do I maintain this conversation? If you want to know a little bit more about that in terms of the how-tos, because so far in this video, I've shown you what to do. But if you now want to know, how do I do it? And how do I know exactly how to do it? Then I invite you to work with me. Every single week, I work with high-level executives on a game plan on how to get to the next level of their career, how to position themselves as a leader, how to articulate the value that they have to bring, and how to observe the gaps. How do you remove that resistance? So if you're somebody who really is serious about taking your career to senior level executive roles, then I invite you to book a call with me. Below this video in the description, the first link is really just to talk to either myself or a member of my team to explore whether or not my coaching is the right fit for you and if I can help you with your particular situation. And if I can, this is where we're gonna move to having you be a part of this community in terms of providing you with the exact training, with the exact blueprint and game plan on how do we achieve those outcomes. So book a call below and I look forward to chatting with you on the inside. So let's summarize. We talked about R, which is to remove the resistance. We talked about O, which is observe the gaps, and I is invest in yourself. Invest in yourself. I stands for invest. Because let's face it, as a business grows, and the company you work for is a business, as the business grows, it cannot grow unless it invests in itself. Businesses need to constantly invest in their processes. They need to invest in their systems. They need to invest in their marketing. They need to invest in their teams. They need to invest in their infrastructure. They need to constantly be making investments. And you, the same thing. You want to grow your career, treat your career as a business. It's important to constantly be investing. Now is not the time to sit back and watch what happens, to wait and see what will happen. Now is not the time to sit on the sidelines, especially because in this economy, the one we're at right now with the massive shifts, things are moving and changing even faster than before. Things are coming down the pipeline. There's even greater uncertainty than there was before. And that's why even now it is even more important to invest in yourself, to know how to navigate properly, to know what skills you need to develop and how to master those skills as well. So when it comes to investing in yourself, one of the keys is to understand that so far you have got to this position in your career right now where you are an executive and you're great at what you do. And the key is to reflect back on perhaps you got to where you're at today because of sheer discipline and sheer hard work. Because that's how you work so hard to develop your knowledge, your expertise, your ability to be so good at what you do and skilled on that side of things. That sheer hard work and discipline that you had got you here so far. But it's not what is needed. It's not what is the most important thing for that next level that you want to play at. The outcome you want to see in your career path. Right? The technical skills that got you here, that knowledge is not going to be what is going to get you to the next level. So it requires a completely different conscientiousness. It requires a completely different mindset, a different way of showing up, a different way of articulation, and so on. So that's why that strategy number 3 is key, is key, and that is to invest in yourself. Right? So I want to hear from you. Comment below. What are you going to invest in? What are you committed to investing in yourself this month? Because time waits for no one. So comment below. I'd love to hear from you. If you're listening to this video and you're thinking to yourself, well, I want a little bit more material, I want a little bit more content, then stay tuned. In the next video that's coming right up next, I'm going to be sharing with you some strategies on going from manager to director, right? So director is one of the senior executive positions. So if you're a manager right now and you want to go to director, how to land that executive career path, then that video is coming right up next. I'll see you there.